So, this is going to be a personal and passionate episode of Receptive Radio today, calling out to all of my ancestors in the community of horse racing across the country, across North America, and a, a discussion about leadership and what it means when leadership is unconscious, doesn't realize that there is ripple effects for every decision and choice that you make. And what happens when leadership ignores the ripple, the cost of unseen economic effects when there's overlooked industries. Like sometimes we're focusing only on one perspective from one person's perspective or one industry's perspective, but we're not seeing how all of the things are interconnected. And then horses as like a way of life, a way as being a lineage, and also how they are connected to purpose and how they help people create community, create entertainment, and create a powerful legacy that goes way beyond just a horse race. And so I come from horse racing. Some of you might know this, and there might be some new viewers here today. And I encourage you to put your comments in the chat. I can see them from certain places, so I will invite conversation into this episode today while we're going live. And I encourage you to watch the replay. So horse racing, I grew up in horse racing. I'm going to be 49 this year. And for 49 years, it has been a part of my life. I've been born into it. And grandpas, cousins, aunts, uncles, all types of people in my family from both sides of my family are connected to horse racing. And then I'm connected to a bigger community of other families that are interconnected, cousins, brothers, sisters, all types of people connected across Canada, across North America. And horse racing is international, and it's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, maybe even thousands of years if you go back to the chariot racing in 2,000 years ago. So this is something that has a legacy and a lineage, and we need to be conscious how one horse can affect all types of the economy, from farming and agriculture to feed, and even the 7-Eleven cashier on the corner near the racetrack, or the gas station attendant, or the car dealership or trailer dealership, how everything is interconnected when we're making decisions about closing an industry down, essentially making it extinct. And I'm just sharing personally what has been happening in our industry in BC. And I have gone through a closure in another province in Alberta, where I'm from, where a racetrack was closed. And it took 13 years to rebuild it. And it now is a thriving industry. And it has a thriving impact on the whole economy of Alberta. And now I'm living in BC. I'm a BC resident. And I'm witnessing an extinction, and something that might not be able to come back unless we talk about things around conscious leadership. And being conscious means being aware how your decision has a ripple effect down the line. And so what's happened recently is, back in May, we ended our race meet, and we were essentially kicked out of the Barns area for maintenance and, refreshment of the area. We didn't really have anywhere to go because there is no other training centers in our area, in South Surrey, White Rock, Cloverdale area. And so it's cost a lot of people who've owned homes in BC for 30 years or even longer to pay and go somewhere else and train horses in in hospital environments, essentially, like not professionally groomed environments, to make sure we can come back to race. And we were told that we would be back here in August. And so for some reason, something has happened where we were tricked or lied to intentionally. And the city of Surrey has reclaimed a lease and said, oh, we're shutting it down. So that act of like, oh, we're just going to shut it down, doesn't comprehend that there is people who've had millions of dollars invested in this industry and their livelihoods as entrepreneurs, and also the horses alone, which are not cheap to maintain when we're not racing, of course, too, to keep our business alive. So this is about business. This is about sport. It's about family legacy. It's about lineage. This is about a sport that creates entertainment too for the community and creates a social environment where people can come together and actually participate live and in action, using their brains, using their bodies, getting excited and cheering for something that is exciting, just like hockey, just like football, just like soccer. And there is so much money on the table here. There's so much money to be made for so many people if we really want to. And that's where I've really noticed that there's been a lack of desire from the track operators and the government and even our industry around promoting something that can really do a lot of good work, which it can help people who do not fit into the 9-to-5 program. And so there's an opportunity here for purpose in work and exercise in work and focus in work. So there's a whole bunch of opportunities here around horses that create spaces for people who do not fit into other places of society. So I'm going to go flashback here to the 1980s when I was a kid living in Calgary by Stampede Park. And we literally had trailers of dormitories for people to live in who took care of our horses, who were the grooms. We employed them. And then we paid payroll to them and we paid taxes for them. And, we raced 5 days a week. And this was before casinos were really big. Like there was no video game casinos and button pressing machines. People, if they wanted to come gamble, they had to come to horse racing. And we were employing a lot of people who would have otherwise been homeless. And we were housing them as well. So since the decline of horse racing and the rise of video game machine casinos, horse racing has declined because the easy way is always where people will head to. Like for some reason, the easy way is picked first instead of the good way or the hard way, which would be to consider all of the options. Like it's a little bit difficult sometimes to really, before you make a choice or you make a decision, to see all of the options. And you can't be doing it by yourself. You have to consider everyone. So you have to really draw maps of what this decision will affect later down the road. And I don't see that happening in all of these decisions. And this started a long time ago when we decided to make casinos and take away horse racing. And after that started happening, homelessness rose, drug addictions rose. People, accessing the social services rose as well. And when you make decisions without considering every layer of the economy, every person that's involved, these types of things happen. And then we scramble to try and like bring in more medical or harm reduction and all these other types of things to fix something that could have been stopped or prevented before. So there is a lot of impact that horse racing does for good. And I want to just list a few of these things. When you have horse racing, it's a sanctuary for those outside of the conventional systems. And you might have heard that horse racing is good for people with, or not, horses are good for people with autism or, you know, disabilities and, you know, schizophrenia and that kind of thing. And it is because it gives them purpose. Even people who have drug addictions and alcohol addictions, it gives them purpose, because if there's a horse in the barn and it needs to be taken care of 3 times a day, watered, fed, exercised, just like a kid, for some reason, somebody who still has an addiction will get up and do that work. They will come and make sure that they have taken care of that horse because it gives them a sense of purpose. And when people lose a sense of purpose, they lose themselves. And so that's one of my points of view that I've always held, is that the lack of horse racing causes a rise in homelessness. And you can argue with me about that if you want. So closing this space disrupts actual healing, close and therapeutic connections and growth of healing in a way that isn't really talked about. And then also, here's the other thing that really irks me. And you know, I'm also an accountant, so I kind of think like I can see money on the table and I can see financial statements and I can see how things are connected that way. The debits and credits, the consequences of this decision and that decision. We are moving into a population, a huge population of baby boomers. We've known this for a long time. People are retiring, and they're retiring with massive amounts of money, and they're looking for entertainment. They're looking for places to have community and connections. They're looking to get involved more after they're retired. And when you retire and you stop using your brain in your job, you need to be doing stuff that's mentally stimulating you to keep that brain power alive. And horse racing and connections with other people and animals, and you know, reading a program instead of pressing a button on a video game machine is a way to keep people connected and alive and excited and enthusiastic and having something to do and a place to go and a community to be involved in. And there's a whole, you know, entertainment aspect here that we have not been promoting to a demographic that is looking for places to go. And if you've ever noticed anybody inside a casino pressing a machine, they're not socializing. They're focused on pressing that button, and it is not random. There's really no chances of winning because you're just programmed to lose. Where in a horse race, there's 82% chance of winning. And I'm not talking about gambling here. I'm talking about like the connection, winning at a connection with people. And so this isn't just a sport. And another thing about this industry is this is a family lineage sport. So you're born into it, but we welcome new families to come in, of course. And when you are working as a team, as a family, there is a lot of social connection between the family going on. There's opportunity for brain power and working together and brainstorming and strategizing together. There is seeing each other regularly. Like for me, the horses keep me involved with my family, keep me seeing my family once a week or twice a week or 5 times a week, because they're keeping us together. We're traveling together. We're doing this together. And there is so much value in looking at things from a different perspective. And so I challenge you, the city of Surrey, the province of BC, and governments all across the world that are connected to horse racing, to look at these things from a different perspective. And that's what conscious leadership is. It's not just seeing it from the money side or the land use side. Because when I first got to BC, I was amazed at how this is horse country. In Aldergrove and South Surrey and White Rock, there are so many horse farms. It's unbelievable. So there's more than just the horse racing standardbred and thoroughbred breeds happening here. There's the jumpers and the equestrian and all types of things breeding going on here. But that is also declining as horse racing declines, because we're all in the same field. And what I've noticed, and I'm living right beside farms right now, is there is an industrial takeover going on in farming agricultural land right now. Instead of farms being kept, they are being torn down to build warehouses for goods. So many warehouses are being built, and so many of them are actually vacant, and they keep building more. So the government is really, showing us that it's supporting removal of farmland and agricultural use land in order to build warehouses. And when we do that, we're also removing all the trees and the vegetables or the products that land is growing, like hay and feed and that kind of thing too. And so I invite you to put some comments in here. And I also want to ask you to help sign this petition to stop the closure of Fraser Downs and Cloverdale. I don't know all of the aspects of this thing going on, but I know that I'm being directly affected by it. I just shipped a horse back from Calgary in anticipation to race in September, and spent all of that money. And there's so many people here who own homes, who've spent money to stay here since May in anticipation that they were going back to racing in September, because that's what we were told. And now all of a sudden it's closed down. And so I don't appreciate that we've been lied to. And I don't appreciate this unconscious leadership that continues to happen, and I'm calling it out. And if you want to talk to me directly, you send me a DM and I'll get connected with you. But please sign the petition and help us to bring this to further discussion and stop the closure, essentially, of Fraser Downs, because there's millions of dollars that multiple families and multiple trainers, owners, breeders, grooms, gas stations, and car dealerships and trailer dealerships and feed stores that are connected to this, and we'll be losing that money. And it's already been lost because we've been going downhill for a long time. And so I invite you to imagine that this is an opportunity for reinvention of an industry that could really create a thriving economy and stop homelessness if we really got really creative about this, and provide opportunities for people who don't really fit into the 9-to-5 corporate society. We need to keep a very diverse economy and industries out there so that everyone really feels like they have a purpose. When you feel like you have a purpose, you get up every day. You take care of yourself so that you can take care of somebody else or a horse. And I would love to have your support for this, even if you're not connected to the horse racing industry. Please support this. And I'd also like it if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow my Facebook page, like and comment on this post, and we will get the discussion going even more.